Alright, this video is going to very quickly recap the as-is process of parking at Duquesne, and also shows you how to save a PDF file from Visio, because that's what you will need to submit for your assignment 1. So again, this is a flowchart or a business process model, whatever you prefer to call it, with one stakeholder. So in this case, the student. So everything here, the student performs and makes decisions by his or herself. So again, if you were gonna add this is the actual basic shapes. The basic shapes with task, gateway. We talked about start event, end event, and sequence flow. And of course, if you want to put a title to the some kind of a text as far as title for the process, then you would use this text button and just drag it here and type in, just like the previous video showed. Similar with your name, class code and date, and the attestation statement. Okay, so how to save this? I'm going to just minimize this so you can better see it. How to save this as a PDF? So you have multiple options. Either hit Control P, which is a print option. It seems like it doesn't fit on one page. I really prefer that you guys save it on one page. So you would just drag these boxes closer to each other. So in that case, you could just quickly make this kind of adjustment, and to make sure everything fits on one page. Now if you just want the entire thing to move a little bit to the left, you can click out and hit Control A, and let's just use the arrow to move it to the left, right, or up, down. Okay, but if you hit Control A, that will move the title as well. Alright, so how to save it as a PDF? So two options, either Control P, which is just have ready to print basically, but you don't want to print to a printer. There should be a virtual printer or PDF option. Microsoft Print to PDF, that basically if I hit print, it just asks me where I would like to save a PDF copy. So that's one option. The other option is basically go into File, Save As, and then you would just browse and in the computer save it somewhere. You need to save it as a PDF, both the as is and to be processed, and attach to the submission link on the browse computer. Okay, so that's the as is process to park at Duquesne. Previous video walked you through all the steps, and again, just the student is involved. So you can call the page as is process, but I also would like this to show up somewhere in the title as well. The current process or as is process to park at Duquesne University would be the title, but of course for the assignment it will be the inbound shipment. Alright, so let's create a new tab. So you can click on this plus sign here, and you get a new canvas or work area, and that's where you would like, I'm going to demonstrate the to-be process, and you're welcome to follow me through if you fell behind in class. But basically I'm going to redo what we did in class. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Of course, here is the zooming options, and I'm not, maybe at the beginning I'm going to expand here, but again, I'm starting the event. At the end, there's going to be an end event. Mostly I work with task and gateway. Sometimes message flow, message, and groups are used, and data objects, but in this class I'm not requiring you to use those, but slightly advanced options are those. Also for the to be process, we will be using lanes. It's also called a swim lane diagram. So I'm going to actually start with that, because the to be process, as we discussed, it's an enhancement using information system, which is going to be an app. So I'm going to have a lane for student. I'm just drag it in a little bit, and one for the app. And as you can see, there is a title. So I'm just going to say to be, or not to be, process, and then you can say inbound shipment or whatever it is. For the assignment, here's a parking at Dickens Garage, Forbes or whatever. All right, so function, that would be student actions or task, whatever the student performs, versus the app. So there's going to be a parking app. So again, we are enhancing the process using an application developed for this very purpose. All right, so if it hangs out a little bit, if you hit Control P, you can see a quick print preview. That's how the PDF would look like. I would like to drag it to the right a little bit, so of course you can zoom out and see the same thing. So I'm hitting Control A and then use the right arrow to kind of put it in the middle. All right, so of course you will need to put a title up here to the process of parking at. Alright, and if it doesn't fit well, then you just drag this out, and of course you can edit the text, make it bold, drag it to the middle. Alright. And of course you will need to put your name, class and date for the assignment, so don't forget about that in the statement. Alright, so again, first step, approach the gate. So I'm going to have a start event because that's where I start this process re-engineering. Sequence flow. I'm going to actually drag it to the left a little bit because I definitely want to save space here. So the first task is student approach gate. So the student will approach it, and what will happen? You might even make the little task a little bit smaller to better fit. So the application, once you approach with the app, of course with the GPS location, it will the sensors in the garage will identify someone is at the gate with the particular app, the garage or the parking app at the garage. So what will the app do is verify the status of this student or person to park. Verify status. Oops. So again, we don't really care about the detail of how is it being verified, what database is checking in, registered students or just people registered with the app. Just verify the status. Whether or not you have parking pass, your student, whatever it needs to verify. So it's not really the question here. Of course, connect the two. Okay, so the application needs to make a decision whether or not this person has a parking pass. So gateway. And if the student, or again the person parking, has a valid pass, we are going to have a, let me make it a little bit. If it's, I double click here, yes. The arrow is a little bit funky. I'm just hitting the back arrow or Control Z, so that's what I was just doing. It's kind of difficult. You can, resize the arrow. Let's do that. Okay, right click. There's the size. You know what? I can't really see the size of it. Straight, curve, triangle. I think format shape and. Here it is, size, width, somewhere around here. Apologize. I just wanted to have a way to actually type in the length of the arrow, so I don't have to drag, because once it's too small, it's really difficult to see the arrowhead. So let me just zoom in to make sure I keep the arrowhead straight. So it keeps doing that. I know why. Okay, never mind. So yes. Then what happens? Once you actually put the task here and you can drag the task closer, then the arrow is obviously becoming closer as well. So what happens if the student has or the person has a valid path? Then display parking options. So display available spots. Again, I'm just making it a little bit smaller. And the app is basically has done all of this pretty much immediately within a second. So once you approach the gate, it already shows you the available spots if you have a valid pass. So what is the next action the student has to do after approaching the gate? Obviously look at the phone and select the select the spot that he or she would like to take. So the student has an action. Next step is up to the students right now in this sequence flow. Just trying to align it nicely. Let me connect the sequence flow. So select a spot to park. Okay. Again, once you selected a spot where you want to park, the app obviously needs to remove that. I'm just again aligning while I'm talking. Needs to remove it from available spots for the person who is pulling up next. We are really not concerned about that level of detail. That would be some technical flow if someone is designing this app as far as the database and different steps. But it's pretty clear that once the spot is selected, it's removed as available spot for the person behind. So no two students are trying to take the same spot. Okay, so that's beyond the scope of this design here. It's just the main requirement for how it works. Okay, so selected a spot to park. What's the next step? Just park and just drive to the spot and park, right? Alright, some apps also have some directions. You know, if it's a really complicated garage, like a big airport, it might give you directions. At Miami Airport or LAX with many buildings, but at Duquesne it's not really an issue. But again, it's beyond the scope. That would be an enhanced functionality giving directions. All right, so we pretty much are done with this process. So I'm going to put an end process here. Okay, so we would be done with the process, but there's also another option. What if the person trying to park does not have a valid pass? So let's put an option then. So the app will, after it validated, verify the status and confirm that there is no valid pass associated with this account, will display another option. Not the available spots right away. First requires a verification or a payment method. So either asks the person to take a ticket, or asks the person to pick a select to pay by charging to a student account. Okay, so I'll double click here. No. Let's put the task here. And again, I know it sounds complicated that, who would think of this kind of design here, but in your assignment there will be a very clear direction what's expected as far as current process go. And I ask a very simple involvement of an information system. But again, you need to think through how can it be enhanced. And if you look at the student, there's no decision to really make here other than select a spot. Okay, no decision as far as looking around, is there an open spot, should I take the next floor or should I park here? Again, that is removed in order to enhance safety. So students is driving only, not looking left and right. Okay, so not having a valid pass, the app is going to display take ticket or tap to charge to account, like if you're a student account. Okay, so these are the options displayed. Okay, of course, if someone doesn't have a student account, that would be disabled, but again, that's too technical for the purpose of this design. Alright, so display, what does the student do? Obviously, the student will either get a ticket or tap to pay. I'm going to move these up a little bit. So everything is selected here. I just held Control down, so I'm moving them up. And I'm going to put another task here. I want this the variance showing that this is the end of the process. So get ticket or tap to charge to account. Again, if the student has an account here, then it's an enabled option. All right, let's connect the two. Oops, I lost my sequence flow. All right, so what's the next step after student takes a ticket or tap the charge to my account option? Well, then basically the available spots should be displayed. So I'm not going to continue here doing display available spots, select a spot, drive to spot, because I already have that logic captured here. So then the logic would point back here. So once the student took a ticket and before the gate opens up, select the particular spot that he or she wants to park in. But first, the availability needs to be displayed after ticket is taken or charged to account. Okay, so let's point back here. So now you can see that the no student has an action when you don't have a valid pass, but then again displaying the available option will be the way to go. Alright, so this would be a beginning of the process, end of the process. You can play with the layout. I mean, probably I could have made it a little bit nicer if this no is actually on top and the yes. So I'm going to move it around a little bit, so you shouldn't be bound what you already have. So I'm going to move it a little bit. I spent just a minute to redesign it. I know it looks complicated, but maybe it's not going to be easier to see. Well, we'll see it in a second. This arrow is not necessary. Just removing a couple of arrows that were left behind. It may not necessarily. Here we go. Okay, I think these yes no arrows were a little bit. So you really don't need to worry, but I just wanted to make it a little bit nicer. So yes goes directly here. Maybe should have started with the no. Okay. So after I don't have a valid pass, take a ticket, I take a ticket or not, then I can actually point back to the same action here, display available spots, but I have this extra route I have to take or make the user to take before the spots displayed. Okay, so the whole purpose of this redesign was maybe a little bit cleaner flow, and you're not going to be graded on how clean it is. I of course expect to kind of be able to read it, but I would just hate to have these cross arrows, and hopefully it's going to be much cleaner once everything is a little bit easier to read. Oops. There we go. Alright, so maybe a little bit, not to be too picky, but hopefully it makes more sense right now what we're doing. Approach the gate, verify the status by the app. App will make a decision whether or not to display the available spots right away for the students to pick the spot taken and drive to spot and park. Or if it doesn't have a valid pass, the student also has to select whether or not taking a ticket or charge the account, and after that go back to the display available spots. Okay. Alright, so hopefully it makes sense how this decision point is made by the application, and student has an extra step if does not have a valid pass. The extra step is to basically take a ticket or charge the account. I'm not really going to put a decision point there. It's just a preference, but the outcome of this task is basically just to ensure that payment is going to be made in some shape or form, and then the app will display the available spot of which the student selects in the same way would have done right away if there's a valid pass. Okay, so this is the to-be process of parking. And again, you would save it. So save as and navigate to a computer, whatever. So if I click here, then I would just go to, call it whatever, and then select PDF format. Okay. So once I select PDF format, then this whole page would be a PDF. But the other way would be file print. Select Microsoft PDF, and again if you hit print, then it selects where to save it, and it would be right away in a PDF format. Okay, and then that PDF is what I need you to submit through the assignment. So this is not what you need to submit. This is an example, actually a recap what we did in class, an example how you would save it once you're done. I have two swim lanes here, two different stakeholders, if I call that way, but basically two different, the student is not making these decisions. It is done by the application, the information system. I hope this helps.